What's going on, everybody? It is a very late Saturday night, and we are going to discuss 1989's Pet Sematary. This is the first review that I am doing in the Eric and Bronco Challenge. This is a collaboration series between myself and Hey Internet Eric here, where we challenge each other to do certain reviews. He did the first challenge in the series. I challenged him to do D. Snyder's Strangeland, and he in turn challenged me to do Mary Lambert's Pet Sematary. The screenplay written by Stephen King, based on the novel by Stephen King, starring Dale Midkiff as Lewis Creed, Fred Gwynne as Judd Crandall, the wise elderly next door neighbor, who actually in a way is kind of the entire reason everything goes bad, and the at the time extremely young but brilliant Miko Hughes as Gage Creed. Our story is a father, Lewis Creed, decides to resurrect his dead son, who was killed by a speeding truck on a very busy road in front of their new home in Massachusetts. He takes him up to an ancient Indian burial ground and buries him in the earth that is tainted and sour, according to Jed. His son, Gage, is resurrected, but doesn't come back the way he was. He comes back completely different and completely evil. When I said that Judd is kind of the reason everything happens, it's almost as if he's driving the story. He seems to plant all the ideas into Lewis's head. It starts when Lewis's eldest daughter's cat dies, and Judd is telling him the story of this cemetery out past the pet cemetery that has mystical powers that can bring back the dead, and he thinks it will save the little girl some grief if her cat never died. So they take the cat up there, they bury it, it comes back the next day, but it's changed. It's a little vicious, it's weird, it's got this weird creepy thing going on where it brings dead rats and throws them into the bathwater. Just kind of weird, right? So when Gage dies, Jed comes over to Lewis's house after the funeral, and he's telling him things like, "I know what you're thinking. Don't do it. Don't go up there. Don't bury him in that cemetery. Sometimes dead is better." Yes, I know I do a terrible Fred Gwynne, but I thought it was funny. Anyways, as the story unfolds, our two parents, Lewis and Rachel, are plagued by visions of ghosts from their present and past. Their first day on the job, Lewis, who is a doctor, had a young man die on him, named Victor Pascal. And Victor Pascal was hit by a truck and he dies. Lewis tried to help him. Lewis tried to save him, but couldn't do anything for him. Lewis starts seeing visions of Victor, warning him about the things he's doing. At the same time, Rachel, Lewis's wife, is seeing visions and memories of her sister Zelda, who died when she was quite younger. Zelda, who had a debilitating disease that ended up killing her, and it had horribly disfigured her and just really messed up her body. And she is also telling Rachel things that are going to happen, and that she's going to get her, things like that. A couple things here that are not really pros or cons is we get to meet the father-in-law of Lewis at the funeral, and the guy's just a dick. You just want to fucking punch him in the face. As a parent, if my parents-in-laws or my mother or my father, anybody came up to me and said what he said to Lewis at my own kid's funeral, I would have beat the crap out of him. Rachel, the wife, God, she's freaking annoying. I hate her. I just can't stand her character at all. Just a terrible character. I absolutely hate her. I like the actress, but the character is just gets on my nerves. I said this before when Bill and I did our Stephen King tag. This movie has one of the most horrific death scenes in it because it's when Gage dies. And it's not just that death scene, it's seeing Lewis play with his son. And you see Lewis play with him a lot more than you see the mother play with him. You really don't see the mother play with him a lot, but you see Lewis play with his children and play with his son. And I have a daughter that's just about that age. He was anywhere between 2 and 3, and my daughter is 3 years old. And I play with her in the same ways. I love her, I tickle her, I hang her upside down. You know, we play and I love her, and to watch him play with his son and then to see his son die in such a brutal fashion, and it doesn't actually show any mutilation of the child or anything. It's just a horrific, horrendous thought for me. For me, it's scarier than, watching anything in Terrifier or, anything else. It's just that thought is so horrific. And that's something that I really love about this movie. It may sound weird, but I love that about this movie. It instills that fear in you. It shows that you can be afraid of things even if it's not yours, even if it's not real. If it's just a movie, it can conjure those images where you put yourself in the situation. And you begin to feel for the characters, and you start to see why Lewis does what he does. There's no rhyme or reason for it, but you can understand. And that's what they're trying to get across here. You have an empathy for him. I'm not sure if the word is sympathy, but you definitely have an empathy for him. And that is just something that is very rare in movies. It's very easy for movies to control people's emotions. It's very hard for a movie to make you feel what the character feels. And when a movie can do that, you know you have a good movie on your hands. And that's why this is, in my opinion, one of the best Stephen King adaptations ever made. Pet Sematary is an amazing film. And as you guys know, if you've watched my channel for any length of time, you know my thoughts on a lot of Stephen King adaptations. This one is a good one. And every time I watch it, I like it more and more. I've only probably watched this movie 5 times total now in my life. And every time I watch it, I like it more and more. I've watched it now twice in the last few months, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm really liking it. I want to thank Eric for challenging me to do this review because I really enjoyed it again. I just finished it. I was going to put this review off till tomorrow and do it tomorrow, but I decided I wanted to do it tonight. Yes, I know the lighting is not great because it's dark out and it's nighttime and it's a little bit subdued. I know I'm not speaking very loudly because it's late. Okay, I don't know about some of you guys, but when it's dark and it's late, I naturally just get a little quieter, get a little more peaceful, a little more at rest. And so I hope you guys can hear me just fine. You should be able to. The microphone's right here. I only have one con for this movie, and that is it alludes to the Wendigo, but it doesn't actually show anything or give us a payoff on what it is. Now, for those of you that don't know, the Wendigo is a creature that's in the book that basically is like the spirit of the graveyard. It's also a mythical creature that kind of controls the events of what's going on. It controls what's happening. And it's portrayed in the book as this demon-looking, white, goatish-looking creature that looks like the Wendigos from mythology. In this movie, it alludes to it, but it never really shows it. You don't get any payoff. It just kind of hints that it's there. It never even calls it by name. It just kind of hints that there's a force out there. So with my one con out of the way, let's get into pros. And my first pro is Fred Gwynne. Fred Gwynne just does an amazing job. So good. The way he delivers the lines, so iconic. You can't even believe that it's the same guy that played Herman Munster. And Herman Munster's a great character too, but he just has such a seriousness about him. He's got that old man underlying humor, but the role, and every time he delivers the lines that are just so serious and so filled with connotation of dread and connotation of worry and connotation of foreboding and connotation of warning, you just hang on every word he says in that southern slow drawl. Or maybe it's not even southern, maybe it's a Boston drawl. I don't know. But I'd have to ask Dave Maggott about that. But it's so good. It's so amazing. In the new film that is coming out, yes, they're remaking it. No, I don't know why. By the way, I spelled it and I've never even noticed before. Never noticed. Even though I own the book, I own the movie, I've spelt it out myself, I've looked at it a million times, and I've heard it said on the movie, and I read it in the book. I never noticed that on the covers, it's actually spelled wrong. SEMA instead of CME. CEME. I, I never really noticed. I can't believe I said that, but something else. When I was talking about my thoughts on the trailer for the new film, I talked about how I didn't like the fact that they were giving them two children and that it's less impactful than it is with one. I have no idea why, but at that time, I had completely forgotten that they had another kid in this film. And I don't know if that's because I just didn't really relate to her, I didn't really see her a lot, or because she's so central in the movie, I can't believe I forgot her. And it was Eric that pointed it out. He's like, dude, I can't believe you forgot her. I did. I don't know why, but when I was talking about the trailer, I can't believe that I forgot that there was two kids all along. Oh, sometimes I feel like an idiot. My next big pro is another one of the actors in the film, and that is Miko Hughes. My God, this kid is good. I usually don't like a lot of kid actors because they're just not as good. Most kid actors deliver their lines haltingly, they deliver their lines badly, poorly, whatever. Miko Hughes does an awesome job, and the kid's 3 years old. Now, a lot of the lines that he's given, I think, weren't actually him. To me, it really sounds like somebody, like an adult, portraying a child voice and being superimposed over what the film is doing. And that's how I've always thought it. I've always kind of caught that. And it's not a bad thing. It doesn't bother me. But like what Miko Hughes does with his facial expressions, his body, when he does the simplest things, walking, moving, sneering, when he goes, I don't know, somebody just told him to make the face and go, but it looked so good, and the kid is just amazing. So I know he's much older now, but big props to Miko Hughes. My third pro is that secondary storylines I was talking about, with the characters from their past that were trying to warn them, the ghosts, the visions. They really do a good job of incorporating those into where you're questioning yourself all the time. Were those real? Were they dreams? Were they visions? Are these people just crazy? Is it all in their heads? Or is there really ghosts out there that are helping them or trying to help them? And one that wants to kill them, one that wants to help, one that wants to kill. Uh, those all kind of allude to the Wendigo as well. But I think they did a really good job in putting that in the film. And the way they put it in the film, it keeps you guessing, and I like that. By the way, my opinion is they really are spirits. It's supernatural. It's not all in their heads. They're not just crazy. My next pro is the gore effects. Now, this is not an ultra gory, bloody film, but there is some gore effects, like in a flashback scene when Judd is telling the story of the guy that buried his son up at the Indian burial grounds and resurrected his son. He's like, the son's practically a zombie. He's digging into his face, and the gore and the blood, you can see it. Or when Gage has the scalpel and he cuts Judd, he slices him right across the mouth, and it shows his mouth, and it looks really good. The scene where Gage, once again with Judd, bites Judd's throat out, it looks really good. The gore on Victor Pascal, who gets hit by the car, looks really good. Or I'm sorry, he was hit by a truck. Whatever. On the side of his head, it's all, and his ghost, the gore on him looks really good. It all looks good. The gore at the end of the film on the wife looks really good. And that leads me into my final pro, and that is the ending. I love the way it ended with the wife coming back from being buried in the cemetery, and she's making out with her husband, and her eye is leaking. And it's so gross looking, and she's filthy, and she's covered, and she looks like a zombie, and she's got like pus coming down her face, and they're making out, and she grabs the knife, and it cuts to black, and then you just hear him screaming, leaving the ending. We all know what's happening, but it leaves the imagery up to the imagination. And I really like the way they did that. It was really effective, really good. I really got to give props to Mary Lambert for directing this film. Such an amazing director, an amazing job, a great film. Definitely a must see. Go check out Pet Sematary if for some reason you haven't seen this movie yet. Came out in 1989, folks. Came out almost 30 years ago. You must see this film if you haven't already. And definitely see it if you haven't, if you're younger and you've never seen this film, whatever, but you've seen the previews and the trailer for the new one, go watch this one before you watch that one. Just saying. Anyways, guys, that is it for my review of Pet Sematary. And now I have to challenge Eric to the next film. Eric, with Strangeland, I didn't think it would be as hard for you to get a copy as it was. So I'm going to give you an easier one this time. Eric, I don't think you've reviewed this film yet, so I want you to review one that Bill and I just reviewed, Terrifier. That is the challenge, brother. If you can't find it, it's really easy to find because it's now on Netflix. So check it out and please give it a review. Anyways, guys, this is Bronco Joylo saying peace.
Hey, hey, hey. Call me the dead body man. You can call me the dead body man.